Welcome into WCSN's coverage of ASU hockey. I'm Nick Marek alongside Allyson Cummings. Allyson, a big season ahead for the Arizona State Sun Devils. They brought in 15 new recruits, one of which is a walk-on looking to win the goaltender battle. How's this recruiting class shaping up?
Absolutely, Nick. There are so many good recruits. You can't simply talk about all of them right off the bat. But first of all, let's talk about Sean Murphy and his 2 goals at the maroon and gold scrimmage. The most important thing about him, though, is last year we had the golden line, which was Colin Heckel, Fez Collin, and Dan Sterna. With Dan Sterna graduating, there's that gap in the first line. Those 3 combined for 122 points. Murphy, I think I'm fairly confident when I say he's probably going to step up and fill those shoes. He has the talent. He skates really well on the ice. They all worked extremely well together during the maroon and gold scrimmage. That's really important. Another thing I really want to bring up is Ryan Clark, defenseman Ryan Clark, graduated last year. He produced tremendously offensively. He had 28 points on this season. We need someone to kind of step up and fill his skates as well. I kind of had written down Jared Lebos, which might seem a little bit odd maybe to you guys with the Drew Neumeyers, the Troy Hobens, Alex Timpe. We got a whole lot of really great guys. But Lebos, he only played 1 official year as a defenseman. He was a forward pretty much his whole life. So he has a lot to say for that. He was also a 2-time reigning MVP for the Phoenix Knights. And I think we'll see that shine through this season.
Well, on top of that, you mentioned Murphy. He's going to come in. He already has over 40 points in junior hockey, playing with the Sioux Eagles. Also alongside Eric Rivard, another one that should be mentioned. Honestly, we could rattle off the names, but the one I'll pick on is actually Drew Neumeyer, the guy you mentioned. Is going to be a big asset for the Sun Devils on the blue line. Losing Ryan Clark, losing Brian Parson, losing Darcy Charwa, even Mike Smith to a transfer. He's going to be a guy who could step in a top 2 role as one of the top 4 defensemen for this team. Really looking for him to break out. We know the forwards are going to fit in just fine. The real concern to this team is going to be how well the young defense is looking. But as of now, no need for alarm. But now, Allie, looking at this team, it's a different schedule. They just joined a new collegiate hockey league now, a different schedule, different makeup. Is that going to favor the Sun Devils? They went 18-0 to start the year last year. Do we expect the same?
This is absolutely going to favor the Sun Devils. They're going to be facing some teams they've all seen them before, a competitive series being Oklahoma, and that always good rival series with U of A. But what I really want to bring to attention is they're going to have a chance to shine against the Colorado State Rams. It's their first year with a D1 program. I remember last year I pulled Brendan McCarthy aside at Oceanside Arena when they played him last year, and I said, what's your goal really to be playing this team right now? He said, just to get experience playing a D1 team because they're going to move up. And they're excited to move up, but I think Arizona State's going to have that opportunity to really capitalize against them. What concerns me is the lack of exposure. They're not going to see a lot of really talented and strong teams like last year. The schedule's going to be much easier. We don't see NCAA Division I Penn State. We don't see Lindenwood, and we don't see Robert Morris. Lindenwood, as all of you should know, knocked them out of the Final Four in the national tournament. So that's a pretty big one to miss. But how about Robert Morris? That was the first ACHA loss of last season. They won 18 straight games and Robert Morris able to defeat them. And not only that, but they were coming off the momentum of Penn State. Penn State, they had just beat them. They had outstanding momentum, and Robert Morris beat them at their best hockey. The year previous to last season, they didn't see Robert Morris. They're not going to see him this year. The lack of exposure can really come back to haunt them when the postseason comes around if they're not careful.
Well, on top of that, and I haven't mentioned Minot State. That's another team that's very good last year to prove themselves no longer in the roster. Or how about the Great Northwest Showcase? That's teams 2 in Canada, where it's just not the same level. Last year, the Sun Devils knew it was a championship year. This year's much the same. The one thing, a difference, I think you hit it head on. It's not seeing the Penn States. It's not seeing the 2 teams from Canada. It's not seeing the Robert Morrises. They do get good teams. They still bring in Liberty. They're still going to see Liberty this season. They're also going to see University of Illinois, who had to face in the second round. So it should be interesting to see how it's going to shape up. But this could be a team that I could almost expect to do better in terms of that 18-0 run going into this year. So that brings me to the big point. Expectations for this season. There's huge hype. Maybe championship or bust. We'll find out for the first week. Allyson, how much truth does that hold?
I think it's 100% true. We say every single year that Arizona State is an incredibly deep team, and that especially holds true this year. We have a lot of really talented guys, but if we can stay healthy, if Arizona State can stay healthy, I think they have it in the bag. But again, I'm not going to sit up here and be like, everyone's going to play a great game every day and no one's going to get hurt and everyone's going to skip to their loo. It's hockey, it's physical, everyone's going to get hurt. Things are going to happen. But if team chemistry can hold up and injuries can keep relatively minimal, unlike the concussion from Liam Norris last year and Colin Haggar's injury towards the end of the season. I think it'll look really, really good for the Maroon and Gold.
Well, there were a lot. I mean, even Jordan Young missing almost a full month on the blue line. That was a huge loss. And then he turns into an assistant captain the next year. So that shows you how much that health is going to play an issue. I think you're exactly right there. But what I'm really expecting is them to get off to a quick start. It's been the motto year in and year out. Can you play 60 minutes of hockey? This is a team in the past we've seen play 2 phenomenal periods, and then they just seem to kind of coast out the way, even if they're up 7-1, let's say. It's a team I really am looking forward to see that aggression. I want to see those young recruits come in here and really prove they deserve to skate with the best of them. Skate with the seniors. Skate with the captains of Heckel, Delinsky, McAuliffe, and Young. I want them to prove their spot because this is the future of Sun Devil hockey, and they're going to have a lot to prove this year. But expectations are going to have to wait technically until September 20th for Game 1 against San Diego State University. But for Allyson Cummings, I'm Nick Marek. Thanks for watching WCSN Hockey.